You know, if you've got time to message me about how I'm parenting, you need to think about yourself. Great things happen when you're just yourself. And I think when you get comfortable with being 100% yourself and you're so open to share vulnerabilities and just be that, people can connect with that who maybe don't have the strength or the confidence to do that just yet. I've very much always had this innate sense of self-worth and confidence, and throughout my life, absolutely, that's been knocked many times, and I've had to work on myself relentlessly to build that back up. Incredible brands are created by being true to who you are, and I put so much of myself into that brand, and I believe in its values and its mission, and so do other women, and that is the biggest thing that I'm proud of, is people believe in the solar figure and its messaging and what it does, how it makes women feel, and how it changes lives. And I know it's a piece of material, but it's the message behind it. I'm going to start dating when I lose weight, or I'm going to feel better, or this is going to happen when I become that, or I look like that. And the reality is that when you actually change your mindset to thinking like that person already and becoming that person, that's when everything falls into place.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Life, Money and Love. Our guest today, Jules Robinson, will need no introduction to you. It's honestly such a great chat. The time was one of those conversations where an hour and a bit went just like that. So I'll keep the intro short. Such a good conversation about her journey and all the awesome things she's been able to achieve with her 3 businesses and the really interesting life path she's been on. So you're in for a good one. Just quickly before we get into it, can I ask for a couple of favors? If you're watching this on YouTube, just 2 things. Can you like this video? And if you haven't already subscribed, hit subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could leave a 5-star review, that really helps. The bigger the podcast gets, the bigger and the better guests we get too. So with all that said, let's get into the podcast. All right, we're back with another podcast. We've got a string of awesome guests now. Everyone, a lot of people are going to know who you are. Jules Robinson, obviously one of the all-time fan favorites from MAFS, one of the early seasons, one of the ones that genuinely did find real love. You've got an exciting book coming out, Ask Jules. It comes out literally the day after the podcast. So if you're listening to the podcast on a Tuesday, May the 1st, the next day, Ask Jules is out. I've gone through all this. It's a really easy to read book. I really enjoyed it myself, and I'm clearly not your target demographic. So I think people that are going to really love this, but as well, my audience is very much into anything personal development, a lot of business influence as well. You're also not just a fan favorite online. You're a 3 times founder, absolutely killing it. So 3 businesses that are doing amazing things. Figure, which is award-winning shapewear that help women feel confident in themselves. And I know that's a big value for yourself. So we're definitely going to talk a lot about that. You've got Status Co, a beauty bar. And we'll talk about that later, but it's really cool. You bought out a beauty bar that you used to work out and manage pre-MAFS. And I'm definitely going to butcher the saying of this. Moira Muse, is that right?
You did it.
Oh, I nailed it. Moira Muse, like your recently launched fashion label. So you're doing a lot. I always have a lot of respect. We've had quite a bunch of people come in off the back of the Australian reality scene. And I like the smart ones, first of all, that they really did build a real community. And like you've been blessed with this attention, like leveraged it with businesses that actually drive forward your values and your mission and everything. So I really love what you've done. Where I want to start with you, first of all, just welcome to the podcast. And thanks for driving all the way to Alexandria from the Northern Beaches in this rainy Sydney weather.
Thank you.
So thank you very
and
much.
I just have to say thank you because you're just so well knowledged on my book.
I know.
So impressed.
Yeah. I would be one of the first to be so well versed in this. I was
You're
lucky.
probably the only other person other than my mother that's read the book.
There we go. I feel very privileged now. So we're going to talk about this. Obviously, it comes out on the day after the podcast. So the Wednesday will be the 1st of May. Where I want to start with you, there's a lot of different things. And I love the way you structured it, like the different headings and the different categories. So we'll run through some of them. And I'll just pick up little things that were really interesting to me and get your thoughts on that and kind of a little bit about your journey. But where I wanted to start is with your mission, which is putting the real into entertainment and fostering inclusivity in the fashion industry. Now, as soon as I went on to do some research on you, obviously I'm not a massive MAFS watcher, but as soon as I went on your page and I spent half an hour scrolling through, I got a really good sense of who you and your partner are, Cam, who you married in that beautiful ceremony in 2018. First thing I noticed is, because we were just watching 3 Body Problem as well, that video you guys made was hilarious.
Thank you.
But in terms of,
So, like, if you know, you know. But if you
know,
don't, you're like, what are they doing?
Did you watch 3 Body Problem, Yuri? You wouldn't get it. I feel like it was a really good show. But with that mission of that you stand for, where did that come from? Why are you so inspired to advocate for that? Obviously, I've read the book, so I kind of know. But for everyone else, where do you think that mission stemmed from for you?
There's a few little factors to it. I think, instantly when you say that, it comes from my childhood. Like, I very much always had this innate sense of self-worth and confidence. And throughout my life, absolutely, that's been knocked many times. And I've had to work on myself relentlessly to build that back up. But I also went through a really hard time at school. I was bullied. I had to change schools. And that to me is always created like, I think I mentioned in the book, like if I'm your friend, I'm a fucking awesome friend. Like I value friendship so much and connection and inclusion. So that's where that comes from for me. No one ever feeling left out. Like I hate that. But also like the body confidence thing was because of being that teenager through the 90s and that generation that was just ignited with this message of you're not going to make it unless you're really skinny.
Yeah.
And that was such a huge impact on so many women today. And through going through MAFS and coming off MAFS, being trolled and body shamed, but then also being glorified for just being myself, that's what I put into a mixing pot. So it's really like when I look back, it's so organically how Figure was created from my shapewear brand, from wearing shapewear and being uncomfortable for 3 months and then coming off the show and being trolled and body shamed. And also those terrible moments reminding me of that teenage girl again and thinking, oh, just because I'm not skinny means I'm not beautiful. It means I'm not going to make it, And I just really wanted to turn that pain into power and not let those feelings come back again. And also it was so clear that women did not feel like they were enough because of their body, because I just got inundated with so many messages, and I still do, and it blows my mind that, just from women asking me like, just mundane things about hair and beauty, which is why it's in the book, and that's my roots. Good pun. Like that's where I started when I was 15 years old. But I just wanted to put it all in one place because I find it really hard to keep up with Instagram.
Yeah, I imagine imagine someone with the following the size of you and how I'm sure like how attached your followers and your fans feel to you. I imagine it would be difficult to maintain it. What do you think? Because you'd have to be, I haven't studied everyone that's come off a reality show. You'd have to be one of the most successful that's come off the show. What do you put that down to in terms of why do you think so many women, and I'm sure men as well, gravitated to you after the show?
So sorry, I'm just laughing when you say men because most of my following is women, but I've got this one man at the moment who keeps on asking to buy selfies from me and I'm like showing my husband going, I've still got it.
Yeah, I still got it, babe.
But no, my following generally is like, it's very strong, like female. I think great things happen when you're just yourself. And I think when you get comfortable with being 100% yourself and you're so open to share vulnerabilities and just be that, people can connect with that who maybe don't have the strength or the confidence to do that just yet, but then they can see that, oh, if she's doing that or saying that makes me feel better. And I think that's where that came from. And I even share in the book that I shared on my honeymoon with Cam, on my MAFS honeymoon, some dumb shit that I'd done in my life, and I was prepared for the public to see that and hear that from me. And I do think, would my path have been different, if I shared that? And my husband always says it wouldn't have been, because you just were being you and being honest and being vulnerable. And, let's face it, a lot of people have done what you did, which was all in the name of love, but it was really stupid. Yeah. So, and I think that does take courage. That does take courage to open up to those things. And in my mind, I was like, if I'm marrying you, I just want to go, here I am.
It's so scary. You jumped straight into the deep end with that. Was obviously clearly like open and honesty is the best policy, but was there a part of you that was like, this is a risk and this could blow up in my face and in front of the whole country?
Yeah, it was, and that is something I tap on in the book as well, that, I've always turned up to the parents, the family get-togethers and the little pat on the shoulder like, oh, Jules, you'll find someone one day. Everyone's married off, when they're younger. And I, look back now and I have no regrets, as much as I went through those motions in my early 30s of thinking, oh, maybe it's not going to happen for me. But I have no regrets because I feel like I nailed it because I'd done so much work and research to know exactly what I wanted. But there were those moments in time where, as I said, that I'd had the family like kind of tapping me and going like, oh, it's going to be okay, but it's funny how your life works out, doesn't it?
Exactly. Like if you could go back, 6 years or 7 years now and have a crystal ball and see how your life turned out, there's no way you'd believe it, right? It's absolutely amazing, incredible. And that's what I actually had this in my notes. I'm glad I could find it. Obviously, a lot of scribble here. You said something about like the power of being yourself. And this is a direct quote. When you feel good about yourself, everything else you desire will naturally fall into place. Yeah. And I feel like if there's like one message to take away from you and your book and everything like that, I feel like that just stood out so clearly to me.
Yeah.
Like be you. And I say this so many times on the podcast and when I'm speaking at events, whatever, being you is your superpower. And the people that own that and like can really bring out all the sides of themselves, their weirdness, their quirks, whatever, and can just be open and honest with it. It's the most engaging thing and like alluring thing, and people just, for whatever reason, some people won't love you and some people might really not like you at all, but like you will find your tribe and they will like really fuck with you, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So I thought that was awesome.
I agree with that, because it's, you know, a lot of women say, especially women, they kind of have that mentality a little bit. And I know I've done it in the past, you know, over certain situations, but a really common one is like, oh, I'm going to start dating when I lose weight, or I'm going to feel better, or this is going to happen when I become that, or I look like that. And the reality is that when you actually change your mindset to thinking like that person already and becoming that person, that's when everything falls into place. It's not like a destination, you know, that everything's going to be better. You just have to embody that feeling, and it's part of manifestation of what you want to be and become, and that's when it all attracts to you.
100%. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the main things I was most excited to talk to you about is your manifestation journey and how that changed your life. Because for me personally, if you look at when I first came across the law of attraction, for me, my first foray into that was just the cliche, like so many people. I was on Netflix one day and I saw The Secret and was like, I've heard of that. Let me watch this random. It was like, I think it's only like an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. I watched it and it just was like my whole life just made sense.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I'd been living this subconsciously because I was like a big daydreamer. But the things I would daydream about was always my goals or things I wanted to happen. And then I realized, whoa, I look back, reflect, I'm like, let me use this purposefully. And the year before, like when I first started using it purposely was the year before I started the business. And like I grew up in the suburbs of Southwest Sydney. I'm from like Preston's area, so like Liverpool sort of way. Me and a friend for the business that's Happy Skin Co. We put in 10 grand each. By the time we put in 10 grand each, I had like less than $1,000 in my bank account. We launched the business in April 2018. My whole goal for that year is just to be able to quit my corporate job that I hated and be able to work full time on the business, even if I was paying myself $600-700 a week just to live. We had to quit our jobs after 2 weeks, and we had made like $10 million in the first year, because that's when the law of attraction manifestation came into my life.
Yeah.
So I'm a lifetime. It's not a question of, is this real? Does it work? It's I know it to my core. It's real. I felt it. What was your journey with that? And when did that manifestation piece come in, when you started working with that life coach after that of a bit of a bad breakup?
But I think also, to add what you're saying, I think that it's so important also to think you're worthy of what you're asking for as well. You know, and not just being that daydreamer. And the thing is, we all daydream. We all go, I want to win the lottery. I want to do this, I want to do that. But it takes the work and it takes the time to actually, as you said, you were like, I'm going to put this into practice and I'm going to do what they're telling me to do and see what happens. And you've got to commit to it. It's not just, you don't just be that lucky person that goes, oh, I want this and it happens. It doesn't work like that. You know, and then when it happens, I've had that feeling of like, this is my path. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And it's not coming from an egotistical way. Mm-hmm. It just feels like the right thing for you.
Yeah, because like your cousin Shannon, when you were 10 years old, said, you're stuck up for loving yourself so much.
That was the biggest insult you could ever get.
Like, I think it's the best compliment you could get, right?
It? But back in, like, I'm 42, so back in the 90s, like, you go, oh, you're so stuck up, you love yourself so much. I look back now, because when I was writing but not that I'd ever thought about that again, but when I'm writing the book and I'm going back to my memories, and I was like having a laugh with her. Now she's a healer, and I'm like, isn't that funny? Like, you teach people to love themselves. And she's like, oh, I feel so bad. Like, you can't put that in the book. I'm like, I think it's fucking hilarious.
It's the best. Like, it was one of my, like, I had a couple lines that stood out, and I've mentioned the two of them already.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you look at reflected society today, and it's the same with men and women, but I'm sure you would have experienced it a lot with the women you're having these conversations with. I think, if anything, like 90% of people, as a bare minimum, could use more self-belief and more self-confidence than the other way around. So I think that being able to tick that box and, like, exactly what you said, you're not just daydreaming willy-nilly, or this would be cool. It's like when you're doing it, and what I call my visualizations is a time travel. It's so real, and I'm feeling the emotions. But if I naturally didn't have that, and you speak about having that innate sense of self-worth, do you feel like without that belief, that core belief, those manifestations that you did, they would have been so fruitful and your life would have turned out in such an almost perfect way?
That's the thing. Like, I do think you have to believe that you're worthy of what it is you're asking for. But I mean, trust me, as you just asked before, this all came into fruition like when I was 30, when I was on the floor. I was devastated. I was heartbroken. Life just wasn't going where I needed it to go. And I always had a big life. Like I could have written that book before I went to MAFS. Trust me, it would have been an X-rated version.
You moved over to London for a while as well.
Yeah, 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, I didn't get back to Sydney about 12 months before I went on the show and met Cam.
What was the London experience like? Because that's something the one thing I haven't done with my life that I wanted to, but like the business happened and all these amazing things happened that I couldn't predict. And now I'm 30 now and I've got like a serious relationship and there'll be kids in the next couple of years. I'm like, now I don't feel cool to move over to London, but it's the one thing on my life.
You can still do it one day. Cam and I did it last year for 4 months.
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to go do our winter and go over to Europe somewhere and experience that.
I would say wait till your kid's a little bit older because my son does not remember that he was the most spoiled kid in the whole world.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I can imagine.
do you remember that time we did that? And he's like, what?
How old is he now? Like
he's 3.5. And I was really hoping it was going to be his first memories, but he just doesn't remember.
No.
But he still talks about squirrels though because there's so many squirrels in London.
Over in all the parks and stuff. You see them everywhere. Yeah. Like that London experience, 14 years. I didn't realize it was such a big chapter of your life. How would you sum up that chapter? You said maybe it was a little bit more of an X-rated book if we wrote it back then.
Like when you're in London in your 20s, like it's
crazy,
fun.
right?
Like you're having
and back
so
then,
much
before
fun.
everyone was glued to their phones 24/7, like you actually went out and and connected with people and met them. But wow, that's really exciting. But you came back and you were 36 when you got accepted onto the show. You mentioned it before, and it's something I wanted to ask. Like you're 36 years old. You were saying like you get, to friends or family like Jules, it's all right. Your day will come. But 36, and you speak about kind of that biological clock that's in the back of every woman's head as you start to hit mid-30s. Was there a little piece of you that started to think, shit, like maybe this fairy tale love that I always dreamed of wasn't going to happen for me? Just a quick one from me. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you'd know that after scaling Happy Skin Co. to over $10 million per year, I spent close to 18 months creating the Viral Brand Builder program, which teaches someone with zero experience how to launch and scale their very own e-commerce brand. With over 100 training videos and direct access to me, including one-on-one calls, you'll be guided throughout the entire process. Now, we already have a bunch of incredible results from students that are making multiple 5 and 6 figures per month. So if you want to learn how to build a business that has the potential to completely change your life, then click the link in the description and book in an application call today. Spots are limited as you'll be speaking directly to me. So hopefully I'll chat to some of you soon. But until then, let's get back to the podcast.
Yeah, I did. I sometimes did have those little thoughts where I thought, it wasn't something I ever wanted. Like my mum very much thought I wasn't going to ever have children. I was always career driven. I was always traveling the world. I had this really colorful, glamorous lifestyle. And it wasn't until I was about 35, like just something came over me where I just wanted to love something more than myself.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a desperation in the fact like I had a man, asked my father to marry me and I was in the kitchen and I looked out the window and I could tell that something big was happening. And when we got back to London, I ended up saying, did that happen? Because I just didn't want it to be awkward and him to propose to me. So, I had options, trust me. I had lots of options, but I wanted that Carrie Bradshaw love that I'd seen at my MAFS wedding, just inconvenience, addictive love, that's what I really wanted. And I just didn't want to settle just to be with anyone. So I held out for that and I just always wanted to have that. And even when I married Cam for real in my wedding speech, I said to my parents, I go, you're so fussy. What are you looking for? Like, he's great or whatever. And then I said to my parents, I was like, in my speech, I said, this was what I was waiting for. And they're like, yeah, we get it, So it makes me emotional. But yeah, in all honesty, of course, I've little things like that creep in. Like we're human. Like I've finally fallen pregnant again naturally at 42 and over the
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and over the last couple of years of trying, I'd give things to my girlfriends for the circle life.
Yep.
And then I'd collect some things from Ollie's that I'm like, oh, I want to keep that for baby too. And then, there was a moment once where I was, sorting things out and I just had that little voice that went, are you wasting your time doing this? Like, I was like, oh, who is that? Like just that negativity. And I really believe that through being calm, stepping into meditation, like chilling the fuck out, like as we were talking before off recording, like just slowing down is what has been absolutely critical to me falling pregnant again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, absolutely, hands up. There were moments in my life where I was like, oh, maybe this isn't going to happen, but I never gave up. I never gave up on thinking like I would find someone wonderful.
And that's someone like you mentioned, like that innate self-confidence from a childhood. I think one of my biggest natural gifts, and a lot of people that know me would say this about me, is, and even going back to school, and I was like a skinny, redhead, freckles kid. I had way too much confidence than I deserved. They're not confident strutting around, but like just like I didn't care what anyone said or thought of me. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't fake being friends. I just always had that. And I remember so I started the business in 2018, but I was quite good in school. When I went out of school, I always sort of wanted to be a lawyer because, again, decision based on ego. When you're a 16-year-old boy, you think, what's the coolest job you can do? Wear a suit, go to the city, argue with people. That's what you think. Make loads of money. And then you realize very quickly that isn't, what it actually is. So I did acting for 5 years randomly. I never did drama. And I'm bringing this up because even me, someone that always, for whatever reason, felt like I'm here to do something special. I didn't know what it was. I always felt that way. Maybe it was because I grew up for the first 5 years of my life living with my mum in the granny flat of the backyard of my grandparents. And like, I was everyone's just like center of attention. So I think that helped me develop that. But even me, when I was acting and I would get into like going through the audition process for these big roles and getting down to the final couple, even though I would say I'd believe like 90%, there was that little voice that's like, who are you for your dreams to come true? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then once the little ones start coming true, and then I paired that belief with the visualization, and my dreams started coming true, and all the money I made, I got to, like, one of my biggest inspirations was Gary Vee. Within a year and a half of starting the business, remember I had less than $1,000 in my bank account. I was drinking wine in the office with him, looking out at the Manhattan City skyline.
Oh, amazing.
So it's like that crazy, but it's like the reason I tell you this story and what I want to see if you have some sort of insight into that, and I know everyone's answer will be so different, but for the women that follow you, for the guys that are wondering too, like, from your opinion, is there anything you can do? Is there anything that you did that helped you build that self-confidence maybe at the moments that you weren't really feeling connected to it?
I think also it's really important, especially as a woman, because we have a lot of hormones in our body, that you sometimes honor those times too. Like, you can't always be that person, to be honest, we rescheduled the time today because I just was having one of those days where I just had to honor it and go, I am pregnant. I am juggling many balls.
You deserve to feel
some are glass, some are plastic, and you know what? Like, my baby is my glass, and I can't drop that. You know, and I've had a tough day today. You know, and I'm feeling the emotions of juggling so many businesses and being pregnant and everything that comes with it. And sometimes you just got to go, you know what? That's me today, and that's okay. That's totally okay. We can't always be on 100%, but you just know that with the little steps that you're doing every day to be the best version of yourself, as long as you just go back to it. Yeah. And just know you're just having a moment. Like, I think it's really, and that's something that I've learned to do, to honor those moments of feeling like that. But because I've made such good habits in my life of everyday rituals and structures around that well-being and self-care, that I know I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that is such an important message. It's something I did want to speak to you about, and I didn't expect that answer from that question, but it's so important because, like, for me, something I found out in the last year that I had is ADHD. Because, like, I was always smart in school that never got picked up, you know what I mean? And, like, my girlfriend, my partner, she saw a TikTok or like a reel when we were down doing a podcast to her mum. She sent it to me.
She's like, this is you.
And she's like, is this not you? And I'm like, holy shit. And then you go down that rabbit hole, and I found out it's me. I did proper tests and found out I have it. And it's been like a massive superpower in my life. Sure, there's drawbacks at times, but one of the biggest things, and I was so hard on myself because I think of myself as a disciplined, hardworking person. Then there were days where I'd clear my schedule and have no external calls or meetings and sit down at my desk with like a really important task I wanted to do. And my brain I couldn't concentrate. And I used to really beat myself up. And then I realized, hey, like, now that I've realized, for me, realizing I had ADHD, like, if I have one of those days, sometimes be like, you know what, I'm just not going to put myself through this misery. I'm done for today, and I'll come back and feel better tomorrow. And I think that's such a great tool because we're not always going to feel great.
No, 100%. And that for me as well, that's a new thing that I've taken on and I think my husband's a really good attribute towards that. He's just like self-care king. But it's something that I've learned to do as well. Yeah. Because it's hard. You can't always be on. You just can't. You've got this magic button to be. So, and I think when you surround yourself with friends as well that allow you to be like that, like sometimes just cancel, like it's not the end of the world.
Not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, exactly. Or change your podcast time by 3 hours.
Yeah. Oh no, it actually worked out better for me to do it at 3 o'clock
everything works out.
So, but you mentioned just before something, And actually, before I ask you this, something that's important to I just want to put a bow on that little thing is like sometimes those bad days aren't bad days, they're bad weeks or bad months. And what I've realized anyway, whether it's just a really stressful, shitty period in your life or you're actually feeling down, you always come out of them. And then when you do come out of them, the perspective you had actually serves you so much more going forward. So at least in my experience, after it's always darkest before the dawn. You know what I mean? It's like if you can just keep going one more day and get through it, you will eventually get out of it. But you mentioned your rituals and a lot of these healthy habits and things that you've brought into your life over the last decade plus, I'm sure. What are some of those kind of like on an ideal day, and not every day is an ideal day, what are some of those things that help you to feel your best and get
so
through everything?
it all really, really kicked in. Like obviously I'd been practicing that, for, as I said, since I was about 30. But when I went to Bali on a family holiday, 2022, like I literally was on the verge of burnout. Like I was in a bad way. Didn't even tell my husband where we were going. Like, we're going on a family holiday and we're going up the mountains to Ubud. And he was like, where's the beach? Like, we're going up a mountain, and he didn't really know where we were going. And we're going to a place called Soulshine. And, their ethos is to make your soul shine and inspire others to do the same. So every day you do meditation and you do yoga, and it's with Michael Franti. He's a singer and songwriter, and he's there, and it's absolutely incredible. And I think the power of Ubud and the just how magical Bali can be, like where it's situated in the universe and the ley lines and all that. Like you can't help but go through this kind of magical experience, even if you're trying not to. And we walked into the room, and within 5 minutes, like the teacher was saying, we're going to go through this on the wheel for this week, like emotional health, financial health, like all these different things. And I just started sobbing, and I was hysterically, ugly face crying in the middle of this room of 60 people that I'd met for 2 seconds. But I just looked at my husband and I just realized how much I needed to be there.
Wow.
And it was just that realization of I can't get to that point all the time where I break and I'm on the ground and my husband picks me up and says it's going to be okay. And I keep going, I was like, I love my life. I love, I thrive on busyness and I do good with that. I think my greatest moments happen to me though, when I'm down, when you're light bulb moments. But I like being busy, but I know that I couldn't sustain that life by doing it how I was doing it. So I walked away from that week just so clear of what I needed to do, and that is just having that self-care and that, classic saying, put your oxygen mask on first before someone else's. And unfortunately, when you've got a family and, you got kids and stuff, sometimes it is hard to put yourself first. Of course, you have to, they come first. So that glass ball. But it's been now moving forward, and especially falling pregnant again, just that meditation. I just went and studied Ashwanga meditation with a friend who's actually a shaman, a teacher. And that's just been incredible, just that silence and being still. You're meant to do 40 minutes a day, but let's be real, I do 20.
Yeah,
and
20 is great. If you can do 20, that's great.
And I'm already, I said to her, I'm having the best ideas. And she goes, it's because you're using the left side of your brain. You're just switching off. And honestly, I'm fucking Einstein. We actually share the same birthday. But just those little things, and that just having that time to yourself, seeing a trainer. My husband and I, we love doing self just self-help courses and things like that. It's probably the wrong word to say self-help, but just, being the best version of yourself. And, we did a course called Lockdown a couple of months ago, and that's just getting all your goals ready for the year, making that mood board, then obviously visualizing them, manifesting them. And I have my little chart that's for the quarter of the year, and I'm smashing it, and it's because I've given myself the time to think about what do you want? What do you want to do? Gabby Bernstein, love listening to her Simple Approach.
She's great,
I have her app, and just sometimes when you don't have time to commit to those 20 minutes, just a 5-minute meditation each day is always a great way to start the day.
And it can be really...
That rhymes.
They're perfect. It can be really... it can seem counterintuitive, but it's not to be when you're so busy, you just want to be fast and do all the time. But it just isn't conducive to long-term success. But living in London for 14 years, the pace of that city,
yes,
I feel like you would have come back almost addicted to that fast-paced dopamine release, this. Was it that? Because it's perfect timing, as I said, what we're talking about off air, me going through all this stuff and now finally realizing the beauty for the first time in my life and the value of slowness.
Yes.
I decided to move to Newtown because I'm what's the busiest, most London-like suburb in Sydney? Is I went to the busiest place, and there's things I love about it, but that transition to like finding the peace and the enjoyment and slowness.
Yep.
How did you go about that?
So when I came back from England, I found it really hard to settle into Sydney because I found it like a small town.
Yeah, for sure.
And
You
I
would.
went to Europe. I mentioned in my book, My Last Hurrah, before I went on the show. And I had meetings with some investors, and I was ready to go back to London if the show didn't work out. Like I'd done all my research. I was going to do this. I can still picture it now, like lit up dance floor, a blow bar that turns into a club, like Pimm's on tap, martinis on tap. Like, so I had a plan. Like I had a plan. If it didn't work out, I would have gone back. And that was because I just couldn't settle back into this kind of slower paced life. And even when we spent 4 months in London last year, I got home in the morning at 7 a.m., like jet lagged to the max. And I went on the balcony and I just was like, oh my God, like something just changed. Like, and I don't know if it's age or whatever, but just the birds and the silence. I was like, just the appreciation for calm and quietness. Like something, and you're right, like just even this year, like I said, being pregnant, I really have to take care of myself. And you're like, I'll leave work at 1 o'clock and I'll go do my water aerobics with the grandmas, which I love.
I love
but
it.
you know what? The world still spins. Like 2 years ago, I would never have done that. But I'm like, it still spins, and also as a working mum, I can live in a dumpster now. The world still spins. Like, I mean, to be fair, I do have to have a bit more of a clean house, clean mind. Like it helps me function
massively,
better.
100%.
Like my house could be on fire and my husband wouldn't even notice. Like, we're very different in that aspect. Like he's great, but I need it. Like I'm now thinking I might need to get some help like in that aspect because it would just help. And it's I know it sounds like a big stretch, but it's my mental health. Like it really gets me to not be in a clean space because I feel like I've got something more to do. And really, my spare time should be doing something to be with my family. Not like fucking folding shit.
Well, one of the people I look up to in business I spend quite a bit of time with is Michael Lane. He used to run Success Resources and now he's like head of Forbes Australia. And he was talking to me about his experience of like the first time like getting a nanny and bringing in people to help around the house and do things. And like a part of him was like for whatever reason feeling like, should I feel a bit weird or guilty about this for whatever reason?
Totally.
Like, but then he said doing it like was the best decision he ever made. And then like his free time and then the time he does spend with his family and his kids can be fully present.
Yep.
And it was just a really, really like pivotal moment. So I feel like if you could do that, like
absolutely. And that's the
amazing
thing, like, it's not like, oh my God, like financially as well, like I'll have to pull back from somewhere else to make that happen. But I know it's going to be the best thing for me and my family because it's just going to make me just, as I say, ease up that space. But my point is like, as I said, like leaving work for an hour, everyone gets a lunch break, like go do something for you and come back, like email, it will still be there. Like don't have to be so reactive. And that's also becoming a mum. I really struggled with that, just perfection and getting things done on the spot. And now it gets done, but maybe not as fast, but that's something that I've had to work on because I just had to be like, you're a mum now. Like not everything gets done. Your house is not always clean.
Did you ever get those thoughts of like, particularly when you're in London, because not everyone, but it's such a career-driven, focused city. Did you find yourself like skipping lunches or doing short lunches and just always wanting to go? And like, for me anyway, like I feel guilty when I don't, but it's such the worst. It's such a bad thing to do. And I'm trying to like get that. It's like in terms of my growth, what I feel like I need to continue to improve on is like not beat myself up, but I have too high expectations on myself, and sometimes you just can't live up to that. Is that something that you dealt
totally
with,
and I think it's a bit generational. Like my father is someone like if he falls asleep on the couch, he'll be like, I'm just resting my eyes. Like it's demasculinizing for him because he's such a doer. And it's a blessing, but I've definitely genetically taken on his graft. Like I'm a grafter. I've always worked really hard. If I wanted something as a kid, I'd go knocking on doors and go car washing and I'd clean the neighbor's house. Like I always worked for whatever I wanted. And my mum would always say to me, in a positive way, she's like, you always make sure you get what you want. Like, and I would go out and strive to have it. But the opposite of that and the bad bit is that feeling of like, you don't let you feel like you're not doing enough when you stop. And that is, you're right. Like it's a pro and it's a con.
It's both.
Because it gets you where you are, but you then have to learn to reteach yourself to be like, you know what, it's okay to just do absolutely nothing today.
And it's a cliche, but what got you there isn't going to get you where you want to go from here. You know what I mean? And it's such a big thing. And again, I'm like, talking about, you might, by the sounds of the things you're talking about, you turn 30, get the Saturn return and your life flips all upside down. My partner's, taught me about all that sort of stuff, but like that grit that you have from your dad. Sure, sometimes you maybe work yourself a little bit too close to burnout, but talk to me about like how that's played a role in all these like businesses that you've been able to launch over the last few years, and what that journey looked like for you to come off MAFS and be like, hey, I'm actually going to go and build all these things for myself because I believe in the message behind them.
Yeah, and that's it. Like none of it was ever planned, like at all. Like, and I think generally a lot of people can see that. Like that it just was a light bulb moment that because of the attention I was getting negatively and positively, and from having a situation that didn't work for me for 3 months and I was just really uncomfortable, for me, it was always been my superpower. I always felt amazing in shapewear. So that's when I was like, I'm going to fix all these problems, did all the polls. Women were feeling the same way I was. And, there's that quote, incredible brands are created by being true to who you are. And I put so much of myself into that brand. Yeah. And I believe in its values and its mission. And so do other women. And that is the biggest thing that I'm proud of, is that women believe, like your product is the body and your brand is the soul. And people believe in the soul of figure and its messaging and what it does, how it makes women feel and how it changes lives. And I know it's a piece of material, but it's the message behind it. Yep. And really showing inclusion of all shapes and sizes and ages. Like my oldest ambassador just passed, actually. She would have been 90 this year. And she was freaking fabulous. And the reason I chose her was because she just had that sparkle in her eyes that I'm like, you know what, even when you're 90, just give it a go. And that's what she was doing. Like she was in our photo shoots and the youngest girl was like 22 and she was like, and it wouldn't have been the same without this woman. And I love that.
Who wants to stop living just because there's a bigger number in front of your age? Yeah. Like I feel like that's the most inspiring thing to see. As I said, I grew up with my grandparents. I've got so much love and respect for like old people and the elderly. I just think they're the best things ever. But the people that continue to keep on living their lives until they can no longer, I feel like that's that's something we should all aim to do.
Totally. And that's why I chose her, because you could just you can
feel the energy
so cheeky and she was so funny. She was such a flirt.
That business journey, because again, my main where people know me from mainly is like the e-com space.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did. I know you've been always involved in business, but was this your first kind of like online business, building a website and sourcing your own product? Was that your first time doing that? Yeah. What was that like as a first time kind of brand founder?
Oh, it was a lot. I knew what I wanted. I bought loads of shapewear from all around the world and I started drawing like little pictures like a little 10-year-old girl, and I'd send them off to all the factories and they'd come back and I'd be like, did a 5-year-old make this? Like, I don't even know what it is. So I ended up, universe looking out for me, met a woman at a party. She was that person that lived in China for many years. She's that middle person of brands that sources all the products, sources all the right materials. So I ended up going with her on a tour to Guangzhou, like to the main area of China where they make, all the fashion factories. And we went trains, planes, automobiles, and it was such a crazy experience, but it sped my process up probably from, I reckon, 6 to 12 months.
Massive.
Because when I left there, like this factory that we chose, and for ethical reasons as well, I wanted to know exactly how it was made. And I wanted to learn more because I knew in my head what I wanted, but I wanted to understand the process of how it's done. And when we left there, like they did it on my last 24 hours and they stayed up all night making this sample for me for one of my products. And I left there with this like off yellow pair of shorts and I knew that I'd made like a revolutionary product. Like I was like, I'm onto something. This is brilliant. So that was there's so many, like, and we started off in my wardrobe in Double Bay, like, and then the garage was the warehouse, which had like the tiniest little walkway, like to slide through to like get boxes down. And, it's evolved so much over time, which I'm really, really proud of, but it's, I was really fortunate that the founder of Budgie Smuggler, I reached out to him and it's been such a beautiful lesson of always that circle life of give and take. And I just asked him, would he meet up with me? And he said yes. And, I was like, as someone who's smashed it globally, like if you could just give me some little pointers of, because I was just starting out. I'll never forget that. And it's been amazing that people have reached out to me and I've given my time and I've done a Zoom with them and like help them in the right direction to where they want to be. And I think that's really important that, always remembering that good people want to help good people. And we're so, blessed to be so connected through social media that you can just reach out to people now, and you can just ask, and the right people will always support you.
100%. And if you don't ask, the answer's always no. And like the worst, sometimes
you're just asking the wrong person if they say
exactly.
No.
But sometimes people, and I've had this conversation with ultra success or like 9-figure net worth with people, like Also, you have to be a little bit tactical as well. Maybe if you're Jules Robinson and you got almost 1 million followers, you send some message, they're going to see it, right? It's a little bit easier. But if you maybe don't have that sort of following and you aren't as well known, when you send that message, like you got to think, like you just said, the give and take. What can, if you can, because a lot of people trying to get mentorship, but people are busier than ever. It's like, what can you do for them? How can you add value to their life, or at least show them that you're really serious about this? And if they do a phone call with you or meet you for a coffee, you're not going to waste their time. So I think it's a really important lesson. But post like launch and going through that manufacturing piece, which I'm sure would have been a lot of rounds of samples and back and forth and
getting the crutch right, because I wanted to make sure you could wear it and still go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Like the first sample I was using like pop buttons and like who knows what would happen to those buttons, but but we ended up nailing it in the end. But that was probably the hardest bit to get that
post your launch. What do you feel like has been the biggest challenge or the biggest, like, where you're spending your most time in, apart from product on the business? Is it your customer service? Is it like all your operations? Is it your advertising? Wherever you've kind of spent the most time in the business, you personally, do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say the biggest struggle is stock, holding stock. Like that's a big, for any e-com, you know,
sure.
buying
particularly in like garments and fashion.
Totally,
right?
like large quantities. Like some people have a crack and go, oh, you're not Australian. It's like, trust me, I'd love to be Australian, but we just don't have the machinery or the know how to do it here.
For sure.
I'd love to order 100 of each. Like, trust me, not 3,000.
Yeah.
So that's always a big pressure. But where would I say my most time? I mean, it depends what business you're talking about. Like with Status Co., the Blow Bar salon in Barangaroo, which is a cocktail bar, you have your hair and makeup done. Like, it's so fabulous. It's literally my love for champagne, cheese, events. We do a lot of events.
It's like your experience business, right?
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, who doesn't love all that stuff and hair and makeup? Like the biggest, you know, challenge there is when you're dealing with a lot of people, you know, like staff. Like that's always a real challenge for humans. We're difficult, you know. It's like, so that's always a bit of a challenge. But, you know, it's just once you get the culture right, everything's fine. But with the figure, I think I reckon it's just fresh content, you know, like it's a real upkeep, like getting it fresh and putting yourself in it all the time. And sometimes you're like, I don't feel like taking my clothes off today. So I'd say that's something.
It humbles you sometimes, doesn't it? Like business, because there's just so many things, and like at any one moment, everything can be fine.
Yeah.
And then you get one email, and then you get a phone call, and you're just like, fuck.
I mean, I think like I don't feel like it's stressful now, because I did, you know, when I first started, like even 6 months in, I get emails and be like, hi, you know, hi team, like, you know, hi figure. And I'll be like, hi me, like CEO of everything, you know, and I did it all myself for so long, like every single aspect of that business I did. And now I'm so fortunate that I've got, you know, a small team. And I think that, you know, some people can, oh, how many people work for you? And it's like, actually, the less you have, the better. You know, just because you've got more numbers of people doesn't mean your business is bigger or making more money.
100%.
Like, so I feel really lucky that, you know, I've got a great team of women that just work really well together, and they have their things that they do that I did all once by myself. And obviously, you know, they're experts. So, and with my input, like it all just works really well now. So, but yeah, trust me, oh my God, there's always things going wrong. Like our UK site was down yesterday for 24 hours. I'm like, oh my God, Shopify, you know? So there's always new different challenges along the way. But I feel like, you know, like we're evolving so much. Like we're moving into a 3PL next month. Like, so now we're moving out of the warehouse. Like it's just, yeah, I'm really figures just there's so many exciting things happening this year with that brand. So,
and what made you decide to do it all over again and start another business with Moira Muse?
Oh, fuck, I don't know.
See, we say that, but we keep showing up and we keep coming back, don't we?
Yeah, Moira Muse is definitely like a passion project. It came from a space of like, I went shopping one day and I just came home in tears. Not like, oh God, I just was a bit like, this is shit. Like I just felt really unseen and unheard and like just there was nothing there that fitted me. And it just makes you feel crap when you go shopping. And so that was the moment that I was like, I don't want women to feel like that. I want women to put on clothes and feel incredible. And, you know, it's not a curve edit. It's not a plus size. It's not fast fashion. It's slow fashion, beautiful clothes made really well from a size 6 to a size 24, that it's all about, like I always envision it like on a fashion week of a model in the same dress in a size 8 and a size 18 to show that it doesn't matter what size you are, we could all look amazing. All absolutely look amazing. So More Music has been great, and the feedback I get from that is that women go, "Oh my god, I feel amazing when I put this on." Like just when the fabric feels beautiful. Like you can't deny the power of like a great outfit and how clothes can make you feel.
And I know like that body confidence and just self-acceptance and self-love journey was like a massive theme throughout your entire life. But for the people listening, because like even I know women, but even men struggle with like body dysmorphia and stuff now. For you,
Absolutely.
that acceptance journey, was it one moment everything clicked and you realized, hey, I can love everything that I am? Or was it like this gradual journey and maybe ebbs and flows to finally get to a place where you can feel like, fuck it, whether if I wake up and I feel like I'm looking the best I've ever looked or maybe
Yeah.
not, I don't care, I still feel the same.
I think like it's a conscious decision that you have to make every day to go like, you know what, I'm just going to accept myself exactly how I am and to love yourself. And I think that, I think I mentioned in the book how surprisingly my experience from going on such a huge platform, like that was Australia and then it was like globally on people's screens all across the world, that was that no matter what size I was, from a size 10 to a size 18 in the public eye, I always still got judged. I always got judged for my body or the way that I look. So eventually you just go, fuck it. Like you walk forward, you get judged. You step back, you send side to side, like you get judged. So you just got to go, all that matters is actually how I feel about myself. And that's when the magic happens, when you just go, this is me, So I had to stop caring. Not that I do kinesiology as well. That's a really big part of my self-care. And, I have my little vision of my little silver bubble that I put around me and these words just bounce off me. And being pregnant, sometimes that's hard. I struggle a little bit with that just because you just don't have that force field. Like there's a lot going on in your body. But generally that works really well for me. And I think that's when, you just have to make that just choice and that realization that, your little tag inside your clothes does not define your purpose or your potential or your happiness. Like you generally do. And just if you're 10 kilos lighter, it's not going to make you more happy. Like it comes from within. And absolutely, like we can all make health choices and do things to, be fitter and stronger. Absolutely. But just know that like the real core of that happiness comes from inside, not from the out.
Yeah. And in terms of like making those positive changes to feel and look your best, if you can start from the place of love, not the place of like fear and anger and embarrassment, you're going to be able to stick to these habits longer term and be healthier longer term anyway.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the trolls and like people can say, oh, just ignore it. Who cares? But when you're getting hundreds and thousands of messages from people, how does your mind deal with that? Like it's not a normal thing for a human to just get like people, saying all these nasty things to you. How did you deal with that off the back of the show?
It was difficult. And as you say, like it's one thing people go, oh, just don't look at it. One thing my husband has always been fantastic at, like if it's not, and I do it now, if it's not there, it doesn't exist, right? And it doesn't matter. So you just don't look, like you don't see it. But as I said, because I have such a strong community that I do always try and have a rapport with, I do, if I'm on my phone and I've got time, I will check the first 10 messages to write back and engage with them. And they're, and that makes their day. And I like doing that. But then you do see some things and you just like, block, delete. But you're not equipped when you come out of a show like that to deal with stuff like that. Yes, there's like in-house counselling and that, but you're really not, because it's not a normal thing to have so much opinion on you about, and the thing is you're not acting, you're being yourself, right? Yeah. So you're clearly just being judged and disliked for being 100% you. And when people think that they know you, but in a way, like my kinesiologist said to me, because I was going very strictly to her like every 6 weeks around that time because I had to. And she said to me like, it can almost change your DNA doing such a life-changing process like this.
Sure.
Because you really have to, people go, oh, don't change. It's like, I had to change. If I didn't change, I would have been eaten alive and I would have been a shell of a woman who didn't like myself because I'd be listening to these voices. So you just, I mean, I say it's not normal. And, I feel so sorry for, and I always defend people on the show where, like they're the villain, or it's like, fuck, most people have done in life what these people are doing, but they've done it for your entertainment. So, and I say, I wasn't even, I was the love story, and I still got that. So I couldn't imagine, isn't it? When you think like what they've gone through, like just horrendous. And I think everyone needs to stop and think like that before they type. And, like even now it's so scary, like the AI of people trolling now. Like I figure my business head was like, oh, it's had like over 1 million views, like it's trending amazing. But there was over 1,000 comments of just the most horrific stuff you've ever read. And my first reaction was like, I was like, obviously like, oh, that's amazing. And then I wouldn't want any post ambassador or current to be upset by that. And the thing is, in the group of women that I always pick for my campaigns from the public, I always choose like half of them who are just, you know what, they love themselves through and through. And there's the other half where you know this is going to change their life. And it does. And it's the most rewarding, amazing feeling where you see them in 12 months just literally become this, you know, sparkling thing that they always were. Because I always say underneath that material, it's all you. So just work it. But my point is like, that's like the empathy in me. I was like, I don't want anyone to be upset. I can deal with this because it just rolls off me. But I didn't want to upset anyone. And I ended up screen recording it just to make a point to go like, it's 2024 and this shit is still happening. We have come so far in this space of beauty at any size, I'd say in the last 7 years in Australia. And then when I started looking into it more and people were sending me articles, I was like, this could be AI. And I think it was because I started deleting all the comments and I'd delete one and 5 would come in.
Back, yeah.
And they look genuinely real. Like there's not dog profiles anymore. Like these are people. And they're saying that in like, you know, maybe like third world countries, they're doing this to create hate and conflict and conversation, and the effect that will have on social, like just digital intelligence, because people see it and they go, oh, it's okay to say those things. It's not okay to say those things. No way. Those words really hurt. And as I said, for me, it rolls off me. I've done enough work for that to happen. You know, and it's funny because when I think about it, when I would get things about my son or my parenting online, that is when like the lioness comes out. But also it did used to hurt me because I was a new mom navigating the juggle of being an entrepreneur, trying to be the best mom and working that all out. And it would flicker that in me because I was still like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right.
Naturally,
you know?
yeah.
And what I'm saying is like, I acknowledge now looking back that the reason it hurt and the reason I'd react was because I guess I wasn't feeling that I was doing 100% because I hadn't. Like, the new mum, you're like, you don't know your ass from your elbow. Like, so now I've worked out that structure of like, my cup is full as a mum, you know. So I'm like, oh, whatever, you know. If you've got time to message me about how I'm parenting, you need to think about yourself. Like,
you and I both know anyone that leaves a negative comment online, they are not. Very, very likely they are not in a good place in their life in that moment, and it's triggered an insecurity and something in them. It's always a reflection of them, not you.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone leaves a comment like that, they're not doing it. And one of my favorite sayings, and it's a bit silly, but it's so true. I've never met a hater doing better than me.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about status and up and down, but it's like
an ego thing.
I could never imagine it like commenting something, whether you thought it in your head or not, to drag someone. Like, let's think about if you're successful on getting through to this person, they see a message and it hurts them. Who would want to hurt someone? Like, have you not felt down? Have you never had a bad moment? Have you never suffered with depression? Like, would you genuinely, like, stop and think a second? Do you genuinely want to tear this person down? Do you know what it feels like to be teared down and feel really shit about yourself?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to put this on that person? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And it's like, if they still choose yes, well, that's not the type of person you want to be taking.
My husband and I want to have
anyway.
like a troll festival. So it's like a festival and there's like Ferris wheels and like rides and dodging cars. And it's like all the trolls, all you come. And
Just
we'll
come.
invite all the reality stars, all the celebrities,
have a go.
anyone and we'll line up and you can say what you want to say to our face. And if you can do it, you get a medal and you're a troll. We'll have like a celebration.
It's just so silly, but it's a good point you make. Like, how many of these and moving into the future are going to be not even real people?
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
I think it's scarier, like when I was like, oh my God, this is AI, that is scarier than actually it being a human.
Yeah. We're talking about the struggles of coming off the show. What's that period like? I don't know if it's 3 months or whatever. After the show you filmed and then you obviously can't be seen, you know, going out and living a normal life in public. How did you, like, it's a really weird situation, very unique, like only a handful of people in the whole world that have gone on shows or experiments like this around the world have lived that. What was that like? How did you navigate that?
I was engaged. So, but in TV land, I couldn't be engaged with the timelines until 6 months later. So it was like the most amazing, you know, time of my life. And I wanted to, you know, shout it from the rooftops and I couldn't. So the only people that really knew was my, you know, really close friends and my family. It was strange, but I look on that part of my life with just, it was so much fun. Like that New Year's Eve and that New Year's Day, like it was, we got married September the 10th. And so we filmed for 3 months and then we came back and moved into my apartment in Double Bay. Literally, like, he proposed and we walked into the door, you know, of my apartment, he moved in. And like we went out on that New Year's Day and we knew that this was going to be like the last out, like the big out that we had, like with people not knowing us. And I remember I took Cam to like his first gay bar on Oxford Street and like we had the best time. Like it was loose, just the two of us. But I really look on that back as a really special time where no one knew who we were, you know? And I remember even meeting some people that night at the bar on Oxford Street, and I remember them Facebooking me like a few months later going, oh my God, that was you, you know? So, no, it was a really special time of life. But when it all aired, you know, I can only explain it as like this explosion that you could never prepare for. Like we were on the first episode and the next day we got up to go on morning TV and then we didn't leave our house for 2 days. Like there was just so much noise. And we lived in Double Bay, which is like Pap Central. So there was always like 5 of them outside our house. We ended up learning like the motorbikes and the cars. And, you know, like it was our life had changed overnight. And it was, you know, obviously it's come with, you know, everything that's come on top of it has been an absolute bonus. You know, I did not think past my wedding day, but, you know, it's not an easy road. You know, people always say, what's your advice for someone going on a show? I just say like, make sure you really like who you are and you know who you are and you know who you're not as well, and you have a really tight friendship around you. Like I lost some friends after MAFS just because they didn't get it and they were very judgy, and I was like, I don't need you to understand it. I just need you to accept it and respect it and support me. That's it, you know? So that was hard as well. Like unfortunately, some people just don't, you know, and yeah, it's been an interesting time, really.
What people don't realize, I feel like, unless they stop and think about it, and I've had this realization from the business sense because we worked with a lot of influencers, and the first wave of influencers that really launched Happy Cinco was reality TV people, which is like in Australia, I feel like it's different. The biggest, most well-known TV stars are reality TV. That's what we love. Like,
yeah,
people don't know who was ever on that crime show on ABC or like it's so different. So like I remember we sponsored an event. And I was meeting up with Jake and Megan and Davey to do some bachelor event we were sponsoring. And like, it was just the middle of a day and like the cross setting up a thing. And there was like heaps of paps following us. And I'm like, are you like, what is going on? It's a really mental thing to just be, all right, you are normal, living this normal life. And now the second this show airs, completely different life.
Yeah.
Crazy. Now, I want to go back in your life and ask about that. We kind of touched on it before, that period of rediscovery when you started, you know, look at some of the things you did. You climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, you ran a half marathon, you jumped out of a plane, and this is when you started to build all these really great habits like your manifestation, your gratitude, all those sorts of things. Now, looking back so far in the future, how do you reflect about that period in your life?
I love that time in my life, and I actually still have. So every year I would write down at the beginning of the year my notes in my iPhone what my goals were. Like I've always been very goal oriented, and I'm like, the most random things like kissing a tree, like, or like just like dumb stuff as well. Yeah, but just things I'm like, life. I'd like to do that. 100%. And I'd always like tick them off as I went. And not that I miss that time in my life, but it was just when you got that space of being able to do whatever you want to do. And I actually mentioned it in the book as well, where I talk about friendships and how I remember getting really emotional and having a little cry when I was writing that part about my girlfriends and that melancholy feeling of like, I love the life that I've created for myself now. But I miss that time in my 20s where, you know, that your girlfriends where you're only focused and you lived for fun. You lived for the weekends, out partying, and you just laughed. Your pants fell off, like literally. And like, you know, like that's such a special time of life. Yeah. And it's like not that like, oh my God, I love my life now, but I can only look back on those times and just think like, that was awesome. Like to go, I'm going to go do something and go do it. Like go to Africa and go on safari and climb a mountain and just having the freedom to do that. So I think that, you know, I think that the lesson for me in there is like, well, for anyone, I think if you're going through those motions of like where, you know, I got to a little bit later in life was like wanting the family, wanting the children and that, just in that moment, do what you can do for you in that time because you're not going to get that back once you have a child, trust me.
It's another cliche.
For a good 10 years anyway.
It's another cliche, but everyone's so focused on like that end goal. Yes. And then when you get to the end goal, you're always like, fuck, the beauty was the journey to there. Yeah. So just enjoy it and be where your feet are.
The grass is greener, but you got to mow the grass, right?
Yeah. Like, it's so many of those cliches they taught you in high school are true, and like you only get them and you'll laugh at them until you've experienced them and you've had that lesson. You're like, wow, that's really it. One thing I want, like one of the chapters of your book is love, and you refer to your dad as the first love of your life.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the relationship that you had with your dad and why he was so special to you?
Pardon me. He just was, I'm very fortunate to have that. I know not everyone has that great relationship with their father. And he just was that safe person that you always felt safe to. He's so calm. He was a professional fisherman, so he's so chilled. Like, I think being on the water every day, like he wouldn't even know what the word stress is. And just that person of that you can always go to and everything's going to feel okay. That's always the feeling I had with him growing up. And even living far away, like just even now as an adult, like if something happens, I'm like, I need to call my dad, see what he says, Like, I don't know. I've just got that trust with him. So yeah, it's a really special thing to have that feeling with your father. And I know I'm very, very lucky to have that. And as I said, until I met Cam, I'd never held any man in the same light as for anyone like I did with my father. So, and Cam and him like adore each other. Cam's always trying to like be all like, because my dad's such a grafter, like he'll like, I don't know, change a light bulb and be like, hey, look what I've done. Like he literally will FaceTime him when he does like something like to do with like tools. It's quite funny.
How early was it? Like the day you had the MAFS wedding, like did you know that early on, hey, something feels different this time? Like this guy's special. Like when did it click that, hey, maybe this is unlike any other man? Like you say in your book, Ask Jules, had to kiss a few toads before you found the one, right?
You got to kiss the whole kingdom, guys.
Yeah. Like how soon did you realize, well, this is different and it's not just, all the cameras and the lights and the excitement.
So when we did our vows, like we straight up after we got married, we straight up said to each other, like, you know what I ordered, like at all. Like we were so different from what we in our head thought we needed or wanted but we were so open to it. And I do believe that we both had done enough work on ourselves that we were kind of at the same pyramid point that we were, okay, we're here, let's do this, We weren't in that like blinkers of like, no, this is what I want. This is the postcode they have to have. Luckily we're from the same city, but we were just open. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong on that show, that they go, nah, this is what it's meant to be. Like, if you're not open to it, how do you know? Mm-hmm. So, but we were very honest to go like, you're not what I ordered. I've always been with taller men, and he's always been with like sporty spices, and that's, not so much me. But when we spoke and did our vows to each other, it was really clear that our moral compasses were the same and we had the same values. And it was like he said what I said, but in the male version.
Yeah.
And it just, when I watch it now, like my little lips going and I'm, I got really emotional. And I think, everyone there on that day or our friends are like, it was like a real wedding. Like it was spooky. And it just felt good. Like and I know it's very easy to be swept up in all that emotion of the day and what was said. But when we got back to the hotel room, we just ended up staying up till like 2:00 in the morning. And I was like, this feels really good. And I feel like I'd known him my whole life. And even when we were on honeymoon, the producers were like, you have to tell us now because we're going to get in trouble. Do you know each other? Like they were freaking,
wow.
They were freaking out that we knew each other and they're obviously going to get in trouble. Wow. And I was like, I swear to you on my father's life, I do not know this man. Yeah. But in a way, it was really comforting that they were seeing what I was vibing, because I was like, oh, don't want to get, this all swept up in the emotion and it's not real. And as we were saying before, like with having that pity from my family at barbecues and things like that, I was like, coming off the show and even going back into real life after being in that bubble, when you've got no producers around you, it's just you and I, like him and I together, I was like, oh, I couldn't deal with the whole nation pitying me. Like that it didn't work out again. Like that would have been like even worse.
I watched back the video of like the wedding and the ceremony.
God, I love how much research you do. It's brilliant.
Everyone's really surprised. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna have a podcast, like I'm gonna do it properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we've done well and we've been able to have the
good
impact we have. But you guys pretty quickly in such an awkward situation found it was weird. Obviously, you're just thrown in that situation, but in a weird sense of like calm and like comfortability with each other. It seemed like you were able to establish that really quickly.
Yeah,
which is just like you see some of the new seasons, and I feel like it's become a little bit more about the drama than the love, and that's TV. But yeah, that was something that was clear to me. I want to ask a couple last things, and then we'll wrap this up. But motherhood was another thing that massively changed your life. As you said, you were 36 when you got on the show. The biological clock we all know exists with women. Talk to me about that conversation with Cam, finding out like, yes, he did want kids, but then you're like, it's kind of probably got to be a little bit sooner than you were thinking. Was that, again, another big thing you were stressing out about, or did you feel comfortable and confident it would go down.
I
okay.
did. We had the conversation. Like I said, look, we're getting married again. And I'd like to start trying when we go on honeymoon. Like very textbook, very textbook. And he was a bit anti. You know, he's a bit younger than me. And yeah, of course, it upset me in the moment. But I was like, I respect that. But if we want this, we've got to kind of get going. Like I might not have time on my hands. And because I'd wasted so much energy now when I look back on doing all the tests and being told that, you know, it's going to come with a fight and all that. And, you know, lo and behold, we got pregnant within 2 months. But, you know, it was, you know, he was very hesitant, you know, and it's scary. You know, you spend your whole life trying not to get pregnant and then all of a sudden you're like, game on, let's do this, you know. But once we like talked it out, and I have MAFS to thank for that, you know, like our relationship is always built on honesty and talking it through, because when you're on that TV show, you got to talk about everything, you know, right? Everything. And it's been the base of why I think it's why we have such a strong relationship, is because we do talk and we do say the ugly things and the things that we're not happy about, and we work it out. And that was one thing that I just had to go like, I really want this. I know you really want this too, but you just got to understand, like I'm hitting 40. Like we've got to give this a go, because it might come with a fight and we might have to go through IVF. Who knows? So, yeah, he was, you know, and once it happened, like, you know, he's the best father.
Because that's what I wanted to ask, and maybe this is more of a question for Cam himself one day, but that, like, from going from that, but realizing, yes, it's obviously long-term, what you both wanted anyway, how, like, I'm sure once, you know, you have Ollie and you have the kid, was it just this, like, instant thing and he was immediately in love with that process and being a dad in that moment? Did he get to that place quite quickly for you, like in observing it?
Yeah, definitely. Like we did hypnobirthing together. Like Cam will tell anyone.
What's hypnobirthing?
So it's basically using your mind and so like hypnoing your body to being calm and to breathe through it, and just to know that you're in control of your body and what's happening. Like it was absolutely freaking amazing. Like we had all our little birthing quotes all around the wall, and like Cam, he was an amazing birthing partner, and we did the hypnobirthing together. Like as I said, he'll tell anyone like, oh, we gave birth. I'm like, yeah, honey, right. Like, you know, we really did it together. Like, and we were a team. We were a great team. But yeah, and I think, because let's face it, like men can be there and feel like a bit of a spare part, right? They don't know what to do. But hypnobirthing really unites you as you are doing it together. And it was a really beautiful experience. And I got my birth wish because I did the work of really visualizing that moment and all my beautiful words around me and the tapes and all of it. So it was really special. But he, of course we were like the blind leading the blind at the beginning, but it's amazing as a woman as well. Like you just become a wizard. Like you just know these things, like these noises, and you know what your child wants. And obviously for a man, it's, you know, because they have not connected to carrying this child, but, you know, the oxytocin that goes through is just next level. Like Cam couldn't even leave the room without us having like a passion-a-thon. I'm like, come here, you know, like you just fall in love, like again, so much when you have this child.
That's
like,
beautiful.
Yeah, it was really, really special.
I've seen some of my friends now, obviously at that age, having kids, and like some, like in the start, they're just like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. And the second it happens, they're like, this is the best thing that could have ever happened. I wish I did it sooner.
It's really amazing. It is really amazing. And as I said, like it's just the little love you have for this person. You're like, I don't even know you. Like you give them the name and you're like, does it even suit you? We just keep on saying it and eventually it becomes their name.
Yeah. All to look forward to for me, for sure. But last thing is, we've spoken a lot about manifestation, but another big kind of core value for you in terms of your well-being and your approach to just life is gratitude. Now, gratitude, I feel like in my experience, in my conversations with people, comes really naturally to some people, and for other people, it takes a bit of work. Where did gratitude, like consciously, as like actually a tool and a strategy for life, come into kind of your way of thinking and your way of being?
Yeah, I think it's I think like, you know, I put it all together and I think about it, I think it has so many attributes to confidence as well. Like if you even were talking about before where you help other people in business, having that space of gratitude for people to genuinely be cheering them on and to be like liking their photos or commenting or whatever, or just helping someone in a space of gratitude is such a better law of attraction than being like, oh, look what the fuck they're doing. And that, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. It completely is. So if you can be nothing but like positive and, you know, sharing love for someone for something that someone else is doing, like it just, it's energy, right? And the gratitude thing for me is we got our little jar at home and we had the Post-its there and just writing on there like grateful for, whatever. And we put it in the jar, and every Christmas, New Year's, we sit there as a couple, which eventually I want it to be our family that do it, and the kids, to teach them at Christmas time that this is actually what it's about, and put the date on it. So you remember that year, and it's just a really beautiful thing to do. But also just to be grateful for the small stuff in life. And it's so easy to, let things stop and sweep you up and move too fast. But gratitude, being grateful for the little things, for your body, for, just being living and breathing. Like, it sounds so mundane, but if you stop and just actually have a moment for it and write it down and put in your little jar, for me, it fills your cup. Yeah. And as I said, and also giving that space of supporting other people is such a big part of gratitude, and actually feeling whole within yourself as well. It's I'm trying to teach my son at the moment that, he's every day is his birthday and presents and that. And I'm trying to teach him that giving someone else something makes you happy too, And that's something it's hard to teach someone. It's got to be a feeling, right? And I think that when you become, I don't know, it's such a good feeling to have that and to do that for people. But teaching a toddler is actually really not that straightforward.
But I think actually having a way to practice it, like the Post-it notes, for example, for the people, because it is, we're also caught up with the fast pace of the world and your stresses, is actually having, and it might sound silly or it might feel weird when you first start it, but actually having these little practical things you can do, like the Post-it notes, where you're actively practicing gratitude. If you do that for long enough, it becomes second nature, and then you can start to live with that as your natural lens, right?
And because actually, in the book, I share, I've collected some over the years that I just really loved and I've kept. But because you're having that moment to appreciate what you have, and you're not thinking about what someone else has, it fills your cup of your life. And then you're not out there going oh, what do they have that I don't? Because you're filling yourself with your own personal joy. Yeah. So, but it is definitely a practice. It's something that we commit to. And as I said, we sit down, and it's such a nice time of year to do that. And I can't wait for my children to be old enough to add to that
really
little jar. Yeah, and that will be our family tradition.
I think you need to do those things. People, everyone wants a great life, but and to feel good and to have success in whatever success looks like, but without actually making the changes and starting new habits and new routines, or doing things that make you feel uncomfortable or take up time that you could be watching Netflix. It's without doing those things, the changes won't manifest in your life. So it's these little changes, these little things you can add to your routine, whether it be gratitude, practicing gratitude, or, all the manifesting things, any of these things, journaling, whatever it may be, without you actually, because you can hear about them and think, oh, that's a little bit wanky.
Totally.
But it's and it's easy to do that. But it's and maybe not everyone will work for you, but you got to try these and actually implement these things into your life. There's a reason people keep talking about them.
Yeah.
Because if you stick to them, they actually do change.
Agree.
They
Absolutely.
do change you. And Jules, so what's next? We've got the book coming out tomorrow. Ask Jules. As I said at the start, definitely not your target market, but I still really enjoyed it. It was such an easy read. Even the hair and the makeup and the beauty things.
I'm so impressed.
My nan was actually an Avon lady too. So I read that. I was like, what?
Avon calling.
Yeah. I think she kept doing it until they took it out of Australia as well. She loved it. That's you look back at the cool memories of your childhood,
yes.
nan running around. She was they actually lived in a retirement village. So she pretty much just did the retirement village
I
and
love
all her
that.
friends. And it was just a really a cool thing to see her do. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Everyone that's listening, it is a really good book. I think the values of self-belief and self-love and the whole the manifestation chapter is probably my favorite, the way you go into detail with that and how you practice gratitude. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there.
That's all I wanted, was that someone to read it and take value from it and go I'm going to try that, or I'm going to do that. That's all that I wanted from it. The memoir part of it is, it's quite surface. It's not I did. When I wrote it, I overshared, and I was okay, not everyone needs to know I did that. But the points of my life lessons and things that I do, and I just wanted people to read it and to, as I said, take value from it and maybe try it themselves.
And there's so many things that obviously it's just gone over an hour now. We didn't talk about today. There's heaps in there. So definitely well worth the read. And apart from the book coming out and the wonderful businesses you work on, what can people expect to see out of Jules for the rest of 2024?
Oh, so as I said, I've got some fantastic partnerships happening. So Figure's going to be doing swimwear. Nice. We're going to be doing activewear as well. My husband and I and some people, the people who won the block last year, John and Steph, we're doing a pilot for a TV show together. Nice. So it's all about Renovate Me Please, and it's based on what we're talking about. So a very modern day Trini and Susanna, if you know what that is, but it's like a makeover show, but it's going to have more of a holistic side to it. So there's one thing about like making over from the outside, but you got to start from the inside. So Cam will be doing the NLP and all the stuff that he works on and the mental health aspect. I'll be doing the exterior, like the confidence and hair and makeup. And then it's like, I've got to find a new way to explain it, because it's like when people go to AA or, you know, drugs or whatever, but then they get clean and they go back to the same space. Nothing changes because it's just like their environment is the same. So they very easily can slip back into the same routines. So with this, we're doing it like, again, little things that people can watch and go, oh, I can do that myself at home. So changing a space within their home, of their environment, that they feel like that person that they want to become. So yeah, it's going to be really, as I say, a very holistic modern day Trini and Susanna. So really looking forward to that. So that's going to be super exciting. But yeah, my biggest thing is bringing a new baby into the world.
Yeah, well, there's obviously that in terms of new things for sure. But I think that show, like, really, like, fusing the internal and the external, and everyone knows. And, like, if you haven't experienced this, like, your environment can influence the way you feel and the way you behave so much. So it's like, obviously the internal is the most important, but then to marry that with the external is going to make things just stick so much easier. So I'd be interested to follow along with that show. I'm sure knowing you and them, it's going to be a success. And
Thank you.
And for those that aren't already following along you and your life and all the wild and wonderful things you do, where's the best place they can find you?
Yeah, probably Instagram. So it's Jules Robinson 82.
Yeah. And then with the book, is it just online? Like, where's the best place they can get a copy?
I'm so chuffed. Like, it's literally everywhere.
Everywhere. You've done well.
Yeah. But I did the Audible as well, which I loved.
Is that out the same day? Or?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's on the Audible. And
for those looking, this is the cover.
Which my husband took.
Oh, really?
My husband took this photo.
It was just a photo that he took, and it wasn't like this full big shoot or anything like that. It was just Jules.
Yeah. I was like, God, that's great. Well done, husband. He's actually credited inside. I'm like, it's going to be in his LinkedIn. It's going to be everywhere.
Awesome. Well, Jules, thank you so much for giving us your time and driving down from the beaches. Really do appreciate it. And all the best with the launch and everything you have coming, and obviously the family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.